Welcome to another episode of Willing to Talk About It. This is a podcast. I am your host, Daryl Old Man Harmon, and this is our open book series where we talk to special people like none other than our special guest that we have here today, the amazing Shumon Spears Hudson. Now, let me just tell you, Shumon is a very, very extremely delightful individual. She does many things, many things. She's not just an author. She's also a mom. She's a singer, motivational speaker, entrepreneur. She just became a GiGi. And she's come here to break bread with us today and discuss her book, a book that she wrote about raising her sons. And it's entitled Raising Kings, A Mom's Guide to Raising Boys to Men. Now, I know Shumon and I have talked a great deal, and we've talked about this, and we said, Shumon, this is such a controversial subject. Many people will think this and some people will think that. Let's get together and unpack it and talk about it from your perspective, why you wrote it, your experience raising those sons. Shumon has 3 biological sons, which you'll learn about, 1 bonus child, which you'll also learn about. And they're all amazing young men. And along with her, the community, her family, and her now husband, Jesse, they've done a great work here. I'm not going to stay in the way much longer. I'm going to bring Shumon up. But before I do that, y'all do this for me. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you can always get notified when I continue, because I promise I'm going to continue to bring you great special guests like Shumon Hudson. She's here today. Make sure you also go to IamShumon.com. Get her book, Raising Kings, A Mom's Guide to Raising Boys to Men. No further ado, let me bring her up here.
Hey, y'all. Happy Tuesday.
Hey. All right, Shumon, you're in the building. Can we say that? Can we say that on a virtual live screen?
We're still in the building. We're in the virtual building.
We're in the virtual building. All right. All right. So again, Shumon, I just want to say thank you for not thinking it of robbery of your time to be here tonight to have this discussion, this conversation about such an important thing, something that you've been able to overcome. And we just want to help some people that may be struggling with it and give some perspective about this thing here, raising boys to be men. You did it as a single mom. And, but anyway, how are you today, Shumon?
I am doing amazing. I am recuperating from a busy weekend. But outside of that, it's been a great day. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Now, Shumon, I'm going to get right into it because I don't want to belabor your time. And there's so much to cover here. There really is. Let me start by asking you, Shumon, where are you originally from?
I'm going to say I'm a unicorn, which is what they call us. I am originally born and raised here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I have never left the Charlotte, North Carolina area because family was a big deal for me, and they were definitely lifesavers for me as I was raising my young kings. So yeah, right here, Charlotte, North Carolina, born and raised. I've seen all the changes and all the growth, and some good, some bad in our city. Yeah.
Right. And you mentioned the growth, and you've been here for a long time. What was it like growing up here in Charlotte for you as a young person?
So I had a lot of family. So I grew up with, having my grandparents on both sides for a very long time in my life. And, I went to all the local high schools and junior high schools. And so I still, see a lot of people that I went to high school with, but the environment has changed. There were times where you could see a lot of, green grass, a lot of parks, a lot of things. And you don't really see that too much anymore. Places where there used to be, we used to play right here, and now there's a high-rise building or apartments or a business or something there. So definitely that. And the traffic, oh my gosh, is definitely amazing.
You're right about that. You're right about that, Shumon. You mentioned the school. You mentioned the many schools here. You went to school, obviously. How were you as a student, Shumon?
I was a good student. Now, from a student perspective, I always got good grades. Education was important for me. I was one of those who took the extra classes and those things. However, from a social standpoint, I would say during my junior high school years, I was really more of an introvert. I didn't really. I had self-esteem issues during my junior high school years. I battled acne really bad, and I wasn't with the in crowd and all of that. And even when I got to high school, I still wasn't within that in crowd. However, I had gotten over some of those self-esteem issues and was really slowly coming into my own, and was participating in other things where, I was a letter girl, and, I used to sing the national anthem at the basketball games and things like that.
Okay.
Outside of that, I was really my parents didn't play the radio with us, so it was. I didn't really get to hang out and things like a lot of my friends did. My curfew was earlier than everybody else's. It was just different for me.
Okay. Okay. Now I heard you say us when in talking about your parents didn't play with us. So you do have some siblings.
I have one. I have a younger brother. We are thick as thieves, and
Okay.
we're about 6 years apart in age, but we're very, very close. Anybody that knows anything about me, I don't play about my brother, and I don't play,
Uh-huh.
I don't play about my kids and my husband.
Okay.
But he's very, very good friend. I consider him not just my brother, but my friend, one of my best friends.
Okay. Okay. Now, Shumon, what I'm gathering here now is that you were raised in a two-parent household.
I was.
Family was tight,
Mm-hmm.
has had some morals, had some values, instilled
Absolutely.
instilled by both your mother and your father,
Absolutely.
but they were testing it out on you, and you was
Yes, yes. I kind of, my brother got some of the rules, but I got a little more than he did because I was first. So
yeah, you was first.
yeah, I was first. So
You was
he
first.
kind of got away with a little bit more, I will say.
Yeah, is that? But now, what did you want to be when you got out of high school? When you were a little girl, did you say,
Man,
"Look, I'm gonna be
nothing
this"?
compared to what I'm doing now. I said I was gonna be an accountant.
Okay.
I don't know. Don't ask me where that came from.
Uh-huh.
I have no idea where that came from. I was in accounting classes in high school and Future Business Leaders of America and all this other kind of stuff. And I think because I was good in math, my
Oh, you
mind
were.
said, "Oh, well, you should be an accountant." I'm kind of glad I did not do that. I probably would have been bored out of my mind. I don't know if I would still be doing it now,
Right.
but
Right.
that was what it was. It was to be an accountant.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. And somewhere along the way, around 20 years old, you had your first child.
I did. I did. I had my oldest son. I like to say that he saved me from myself
Wow.
at that age. I was definitely not prepared to be anybody's mama, but you do what you got to do. You man up, you pull up your bootstraps and you make it happen. So, but yeah, we are super tight. I would say out of all of my kings, he is the most like me. He has the most grind, the most hustle, the most, entrepreneurial skills. Like he is the most like me out of all of them.
Yeah. And you do that very well, Shumon, if I could, because I read the book. I told you I read the book. And what was so great about it is you gave the characteristics of each of your sons.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was just so marvelous. And then they also spoke too, which was they co-authored with you,
They did,
which
yes.
which was amazing, which was amazing for me. I really, really loved reading what those young men had to say, those young kings, excuse me. I really love what they had to say. And you also talk about a thing where each child, you were at a different place in your life.
Mm-hmm.
How significant was that for you? And talk about it just from a mom standpoint. I mean, I can relate just as a parent,
Yeah.
but just talk about that a little bit from a mom standpoint, because generally you spend most of the time with the children.
Yeah. Again, at different points in my life, with my oldest, with Lazar, he was. I hate to say he was like my crash test dummy, but he kind of was. He got. I was trying things out and things with him, and I was younger and I had more energy, and we did all the little things, the Barnes and Noble story time and going to the park and all those types of things. And I did that also with Preston. However, when Preston was born, I was married to their father at the time, and I was a stay-at-home mom for a little while. So, again, that dynamic was a little bit different with him. And with Shamar, his father and I were kind of on the outs. So I was in a different place. And so I was telling someone else that I actually take the time to apologize to each of them
Wow.
and share with them that, I apologize because I know at certain parts in your life, I wasn't who you needed me to be. I parented you from a place of anger, from hurt, from disappointment, sometimes from fear. But I also parented you from a place of excitement and happiness and joy. But unfortunately, at certain times, there was more of that fear, anger, disappointment, hurt than it was excitement, happy, joy. And I felt like I owed them that apology. And so for me, even now, I do my best to give them, all those happy times, the times that I couldn't give it to them then because I was too busy trying to figure it out myself of who I was and what I was going through.
I like this, Shumon. I love where this is going. You're being super, super vulnerable. And I just want to peel back a little bit because now you said you struggled a little bit.
I did.
In the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But now I can't help but wonder, you had mom, you had dad, you had a healthy balance there. Were they lending a hand, or were you like, this is my baby, I did this, I put myself in this situation, I'll get myself out? Where were you with that?
Oh no, my parents 100% were, lending a hand. They were totally helpful, totally, involved. Even my grandparents at the time, like my grandparents, none of them went to daycare until they were 3, almost 4 years old, because my grandparents kept each one of them, and built that relationship. So they was able to receive some of that old school loving and some of those old school meals as young kids, my grandparents. But in the same token, I also knew that it was still my responsibility. My mom will probably tell you today, I'm a hustler to my soul. And if I ask you for something, if I ask you for help, know that I have exhausted every means possible to me. It's hard for me to accept help because I'm used to doing it on my own. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And Shumon, you mentioned that dad was there throughout that time. And a lot of times when we break up with things, even if it's a job, the thought process happens well before the actual event.
Mm-hmm.
So what went through your mind prior to the actual event actually taking place, knowing that, I'm about to go into I'm about to be a single mom?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about that a little bit.
I got into a point where, as I mentioned earlier, I had, some self-esteem issues kind of growing up, during my middle school, kind of early high school years. But I had gotten to a point where I was like, I deserve more. I deserve better. I came to that marriage with great examples of what a marriage should look like, and great examples of how a marriage should, function and work. And that wasn't what I was receiving in return. And I literally got to a point, it was like, this is too much for me. And again, I'm gonna give you another very vulnerable moment. I am definitely, I had a point where literally I am a suicide survivor. I literally was so hurt, disappointed, and everything in that marriage that I, attempted suicide.
Jesus.
And I had 3 kids at the time. I, wrote the note for my parents to find, my mom to find. I fed them and left them on the sofa and ran water to sink underneath the water until that moment I heard God say, you know me better than this, get up. So, at that moment I was like, you know what? There's no way that a marriage, a person, or anyone should make me feel like this. And at that moment I knew it was time for me to go.
You'll figure it out from here.
Mm-hmm.
You'll figure it out.
And I packed them up and we left. I was, at the same time I was having a home built. He had no idea. And one day when the home was ready, I packed up my babies and we left.
For those of you that are just joining us, we're talking to the amazing Shumon Spears Hudson. And I'm going to tell you right now, she's already started. If whatever you miss, you'll have to catch it on the pre-record. You're going to have to catch it. She's already started. We're talking about her book, Raising Kings, A Mom's Guide, Raising Boys to Men. And I'm going to tell you right now, for those of you that see the title, read the title, and think Shumon is coming from a place of boldness as to I can do this better than you, we've already pulled that apart. And I if you read the book, you'll find that that's not true. That's just not true. And most authors, we don't need to write like that. And this is definitely not that piece. Most authors write to give their story to help somebody. And this is truly that. But as we continue to unpack this, Shumon, I just want to continue to thank you for being so vulnerable and so honest about who you are and how you become to be IamShumon.com now. Yeah.
There's no testimony without a test. So I've had some tests. Yeah.
You've had some tests. You wrote this book. Now, why now, Shumon? Why now? You've survived everything. The boys have graduated high school. You've gotten past that. Why now?
So honestly, this is the second book. The first book was I was a part of an anthology.
Correct.
And so even after that, I had people say, "Oh, I really loved your chapter. Have you thought about writing your own book?" No, I had not honestly thought about writing my own book. But I have a cousin who would say, cuz, you did a really great job with those boys, some of the things you've gone through and some of the things you've taught them and how they are, you could help some moms. You should write a book. I toyed with that thing for a couple of years. And then as my oldest was away in college, I noticed that a lot of those young men didn't know how to do their own laundry, didn't know how to do a lot of different things that, Lazar knows how to do, or the boys, they know how to do. And I was like, okay, there's no way you are 18, 19 years old and you waiting until you get home on break to take all your laundry for your mama to do it. Like this, I know not. I just know that's really not happening. Or, not keeping their rooms clean, or sometimes their moms or people will come up and clean their room for them. I was like, I know that that's not happening. So things like that, I was like, okay, we have to help our young men, and mamas, we have to let go a little bit. We holding them a little too tight. It's okay for them to fall a little bit and figure some things out, but you got to teach them how to be that. You got to teach them how to be the young man, how to be the example, how to take care of themselves. For me, and they hate when I say this, and I've said this many times to them, my goal was to make sure that when my time comes, that you can handle yourself, that you can live on your own, you can manage your life when my time comes, because everybody's time is going to come.
Right.
And I need comfort in knowing that when that time comes, that you can take care of yourself.
Right. And that's so important. As I read this book, I'm not going to say it was traumatizing, because you talk about chores. I used to have to, Shumon, I used to have to vacuum the floor every single day, every day. And it was like my brother, myself, and my mom. And I'm thinking to myself, the floor didn't really get dirty enough for me to vacuum it again. You know what I mean? So I used to try to outsmart my mom, and I swear I think she used to purposely throw stuff down to see if you vacuum. To see if I would vacuum it. And so I used to do the dumbest things. I would look all over the floor to see if she did that instead of just vacuuming it.
I'm gonna tell you. So we didn't have to vacuum every day, but my mom vacuumed pretty much almost every day, and she would make those sailboats, with the vacuum in the carpet. So that's how your mama knew you wasn't vacuuming. You saw y'all footprints in there. You told on yourself.
Well, I wasn't vacuuming. I'd be looking for stuff. I'd be going down picking stuff up instead of just running that vacuum cleaner. Just sometimes I'll plug it in, pull the wire out, leave it there like I just finished.
You told on yourself right there. That's
right there. Right there. Now, Shumon, you talk about a very good thing in chapter 1. You talk about boys have feelings too. Mm-hmm. And when I heard that, it reminded me of a book I read by T.D. Jakes. He talks about emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions by T.D. Jakes. And I said, wow. So Shumon is coming right out the gate. Chapter 1, she's talking about boys have feelings too. Talk to me a little bit about that and how you, as a mom, were able to tap into that and navigate that.
Well, I will say that a lot of times we say, you hear, boys don't cry, stop all that crying, boys don't cry. And I'm guilty. I was guilty, I was like, stop all that crying before I give you something to cry about. Well, they might have had a real reason to be crying. And in the beginning, I didn't take the time to understand why they were crying. Why were they so hurt? Why were they so upset? And so I was convicted by that. I was like, you know what? That's wrong. Because if I was crying, I wouldn't want nobody to tell me, be quiet, stop all that crying, especially if I had a real reason, something was bothering me to the point where I felt like I needed to shed some tears. And so as, I got to the point where I would really help them try to understand, what is making you so upset, trying to help them use their words. A lot of times when men, they're taught that and they hold all this stuff in and then they become angry. They hold in resentment. They kind of lash out and things because they don't have anyone that they feel comfortable that's not going to tease them and put them in a place where they can be vulnerable. And I wanted that, that space for them. Again, after I was convicted, I was like, I have to do better. I need them to be in a place where they can express those emotions. My middle child, Preston, I love my baby, but he was the biggest crybaby. Oh my gosh.
Oh man, where Preston at?
He cried and he cried. He cried a lot, and he'll even admit that to the day. He knows that. Right. He cried a lot, and as he was, growing older, I had to understand what was triggering that. What's going on that's triggering it. Let's talk about that. I had to learn how to tap into what works for him. I could ask him, and he would look me stone and wouldn't say a word. Just look at me and just be crying. And then I would say, okay, well, know that I'm here when you're ready to talk. And eventually he would come back and talk. He just didn't want to talk right then, but allowing him that space to release those emotions and then being able to give him that space to be vulnerable and be okay sharing that information. And to me, I think that also translates into healthy relationships as they grow into, and husbands and what have you, as they get older, they can, their wife or significant other gives them a place where they can be vulnerable and still be comfortable in that. And they not be ashamed to share those feelings because they've had that foundation.
Right. Now you mentioned that, Shumon. Now let me ask you, were you conscious of that? You mentioned the 3 levels. Lazar, Preston, Shamar, and you've learned something as you've gone along. When do you think you started paying attention to, you know what, I need to give him these tools because some woman is going to have to deal with this? When did that start to take place? Or was it just, I'm being a mom and this is what's good for him and those kind of things?
It was pretty much, I'm just being a mom, and this is what I feel like they need at this stage. It got to a point, I would say, as they were, kind of middle school age, and they were starting to, grow into, their masculinity and so forth. And it was more of, okay, they need to be able to express these things. I want them to be, I'm not just raising sons, I'm raising, hopefully somebody's husband. I'm raising, hopefully somebody's father. I'm raising these young people, and they need these life skills. I don't want them to be angry and resentful and, all those types of things. I want them to be able to be confident in who they are and not be ashamed to express their feelings.
Right. Now, I mean, we can't get it out the room. We're both African American. Obviously, our sons, our children are as well. How much did that play a part, Shumon? Because that's a lot of weight. I mean, Black woman raising 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 Black young men. And it's never really been easy. You go back 20 years, I can't find a space in that 20 years where we could say, oh, it wasn't that bad. It was always something going on. How much did that play a part? How much did you think about that? Or was it still just, I'm just being a mom?
Oh no, it definitely played a part. because our young Black kings experience things that others of other races and ethnicities don't. They are faced with a lot of different things that, you know, they would never imagine that they would even, you know, other races and ethnicities would ever imagine that they would even have to deal with. You raise your children, and outside of just being boys, I'm just going to say children in general, you know, you raise your children to be, you know, stand-up citizens. You want them to be, you know, positive. You want them to be contributing citizens to our society. And so you think about, and I'll say as kind of the whole Black Lives Matter thing that was situation that was going on, and you know, our young people were getting stopped by the police all the time. And when I took Lazar to college and I dropped him off, I was fine the whole time we were there. And then as we were going down the road, headed back home, the tears began to fall. Wow. And my husband said, "Well, why are you crying? You know, he'll be all right." I said, "I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about him at all, because I know who he is and he knows whose he is. I'm worried about the people that are going to be in his presence. I'm worried about the people that are going to be surrounding him. I'm worried about the people that are going to be trying to influence him to do the things that he was not taught to do. So I'm worried about if he decides to walk down the street, is he going to get stopped by a policeman? I'm not going to see my baby again. I'm worried about those things." So it wasn't him I was concerned about. I was concerned about the community around him.
Wow. That's big stuff. That's heavy. And as a parent, it's one of the hardest things. I mean, mom, dad, it's just hard, especially as they grow and go and start to be there and away, and you don't know. And it takes a lot of getting used to say the least. It takes a lot of getting used to.
It really does. And Lazar moved away to Texas. So he's even further away. So it's like, you know, I'm checking in on him, you know, constantly. Are you okay? You know, how's your mind? You know, how's your heart? You know, what's going on? So I try to stay in tune with him on a regular basis, because I can't just put my hands on him as easily as I can some of the others.
You know, and that leads me into your third chapter, which is overcompensating. And I've raised my hand. I'm guilty of it. If you're guilty of overcompensating for your kids, just raise your hand in the chat.
Can I raise both hands?
I raise both hands.
I'll raise my feet too.
Right. You talked about it earlier, Shumon. But why was it? And when you know this, I felt bad for Lazar. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I'm thinking, excuse me, not Lazar. I felt bad for the kids that came after, because I'm like, Lazar probably got so much, and now she's figuring I'm overcompensating. You ain't getting that much. Preston, you ain't getting that much. And to hear my brother tell it was the reverse. Like, I got everything, he didn't get nothing. He's older than me, right? But anyway, so how did you transition? Because there's a mother out there that is going through this. She's realizing, a parent period, they're realizing that, you know what, none of this really matters. Let's focus on what we need to. But then you have that kid that saw all that. They saw that Sweet 16, that extravagant $2,000 party. They're 14, they get to 16, and they like, Mom, what's this Chuck E. Cheese stuff you giving me? Talk to me about that overcompensating piece, especially when transitioning from child to child.
So I did overcompensate for, you know, them not being in a two-parent household. I felt like I needed to give them more, and I gave them things, multiple things that they probably did not earn, I would say, at that time. However, I overcompensated sometimes to a point where I felt they started to be ungrateful, that they felt entitled to these things, and I could just ask Mama and she gonna get it, you know, those types of things. And they were not doing their part when it came to, you know, household chores, and I'm having to ask you multiple times to do things. And, you know, at that point, it kind of got old for me. It's like, all right, we gonna slow down on some of this stuff until y'all can show that you deserve it, that you've earned these things, that, you're doing your chores and things without me having to ask. That, the homework and things are being done, and you're doing, well in school. Some of this has to stop. And I did. I made the stop. Now, are my young kings spoiled? Absolutely. Every last one of them. All four of them. They are spoiled. And even to this day at, 28, 27, 23, 22, they still spoiled. And they will admit that they are spoiled. However, in the same token, they have had to earn a lot of these things. Like you don't just get, you don't just get things anymore. It was important for me for them to have some of the things. They all had the Super 16 party. They all had a car. They all had, some of those things. They all had, they're internationally traveled. We've done those things. And it was important for me, for them to have a well-rounded environment. And they'll say that Shamar and Preston, they got they get everything. Well, and again, I'm in a different place in life. At that time, earlier on, I was not in the same financial place I was as they were growing up. Things started to get better. So they did get some other things that you did not receive because I wasn't in that place financially. Not because I didn't want to give it to you. I didn't have it to give, so, right. That there is that does change as you grow and you grow in life.
Yeah. Shumon, you talked about being able to give the kids things like that, and you mentioned you had to apologize at times. When you had to apologize, did you go into depth to explain it? Because you're talking to children, so that they could really understand, and maybe really not even understand, but just so you felt like, hey, one day you'll understand, and this is what it looks like.
Well, at the time that I apologized, they were the age to understand.
Okay.
So I did go into detail. I explained to them, what happened, how the relationship with their father failed. I explained to them, why I parented in certain places. I explained to them, that I was still trying to figure things out. And so I couldn't answer your question in the best way because I didn't know. I didn't know how. I was still trying to figure out how we were going to make sure that we had food on the table, and I explained to them, and you probably read it in one of their chapters. Literally got to a point. I sold everything in our home except for the bed, except for the beds, Correct. The beds and the TV. I sold every piece of furniture in that home, right. Just so that to make sure that we could eat and we could continue on. And we had a roof over our head. Could I have gone to my parents? Absolutely, they would have welcomed me with open arms, but I didn't want to. That wasn't their battle to fight. That was mine. That was my situation.
Right.
And so
right.
We sat on the floor. We had picnics every night until I got back to the point, and they thought it was fun. They ain't know any different.
Right. Right.
But I explained even that situation. I went back and explained to them why we were doing that, and they were like, "Oh, it was fun. We didn't think anything of it." So a lot of times as parents, we hold that like, "Oh my God, I put my kids in this bad place." All the while, they think we having camp out.
Right.
You stress yourself out, and they've enjoyed that time. But some of those downfalls, yeah.
And that leads me to something I want to ask you. And I know it happened in the book. I'm not sure where, mm-hmm. But you kind of got to give yourself permission to tell what I'll call, say, a little white lie.
What do you mean?
I mean, because sometimes kids will ask a question, but you just can't tell them what it is at that time. You mentioned you had, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because about that time that you talk about where you had to sell the stuff and kind of say, hey, we about to do this. We're going to all sit around on the floor. Mom, what happened to the furniture? Oh, well, whatever. So those, you have those moments where you have to replace the truth with this story because, hey, it's just not right now.
Right. They wouldn't have understood it if I told them at that moment.
Correct.
Because of their ages, they wouldn't have understood what was going on and why. And you're right. I do talk about in the book. It's not their place at that time to understand it because they can't fix it.
They can't fix it.
They can't fix it. They can't change it. They can't contribute to it. Their job is to be a child. and to enjoy their childhood, not to involve those things of adult life. That's not their place.
And that's so great because Shumon, you talk about all of these things, selling the furniture. It must have left you in a place of somewhat confusion. What am I going to do now? I could go back to mom's, but I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
And so in chapter 5, you really talk about that, and you give yourself permission. You give moms permission. It's okay. A parent, period. It's okay to be confused. Talk to me about that. And when did you embrace it? More importantly.
Well, I mean, because there's a book there's a book out called What to Expect When Expecting. There is no book that says what to expect when they get here, right?
Yeah.
That book doesn't exist. And so there are going to be times that situations are going to happen that you don't have the answer to. There are going to be times your children are going to do some things and you're not going to know how to respond. You're not going to know how to help them. You're not going to know how to fix it. And there are times I have said, Lord, I don't know. Just please help me. Help me, God, to help them. Because at this stage, I do not know. I'm confused. And, and they'll even tell you now, if I don't know, I'm going to tell you, I don't know. Right. I don't know. We'll try to figure it out together. But right now, I don't know.
Right.
And it's okay to be that because there isn't a manual. And what this mom over here did may not work for your child. You have to do something different that works for your child. Each one of your children, each child is different. And what someone else did may and may not work for your child.
Right.
And it's okay to say, I don't know. It is.
So did you have like little, because I swear my mom had other moms and they was like, yo, make sure he do that. And I think they was helping my mom out raise me. I know it was. I think there was. And I think I got a punishment probably when I wouldn't have, but that particular friend found out what I did. And
I think having a positive mom circle is super important. Someone you can bounce things off of. Doesn't mean you have to do what they say, but it may have you look at your situation in a different way. Oh, I didn't think about that.
Right.
I am grateful that I have, great mom circle in my life, and we bounce things off since our kids were small, and even now as they're young adults, we still do bounce things off of one another with our young kings and with our children. So that mom circle is definitely super important. And I definitely went through phases where it was like what this situation, what did you do? Did your child go through this? And what did you do? And there are times I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work with my child. Let me go back to God. I need you because I need to figure out a way to help my child. Like I don't have the answer.
Right. That we mentioned a lot is going on with moms. You mentioned those kids that went to school with your sons, that they didn't have those same qualities. Do moms why don't more moms or parents in general, but specifically moms, step in and say, you know what, girl, you're wrong for that? Because I don't know, Shumon, but it doesn't seem like that always happens. It's like, my child is my child, but your child is your child. I'm not going to tell your child what to do. Is there a line like that? Do you do that? Will you step in with some of your female friends and say, girl, you're not going to talk to him like that, or you're not going to do that in front of him? Talk to me a little bit about that, please. Help me with this.
Yeah, I am blessed to have a great friend circle, and they, we call each other to the floor, to the mat, and if we, sis, I don't know if that was the right way to do that, or did you think about doing this, or, you have to have a circle that you trust has you and your children's best interests at heart. Like, your circle can't just consist of any and everybody. And I'll have friends that I'll call and I'll start off with, I need you to tell me if I'm wrong. And most they'll tell me, if you starting off with that, you already know you're wrong. So you just want me to co-sign, right?
Right.
But having those friends, that you can have those honest conversations with, and or they've been through that situation and they can tell you, yes, I don't think you should have handled that way. You may have made him feel X, Y, and Z by the way you responded, or and so that that's super important, to have people that you trust that can say, yeah, you probably need to you might need to go back and apologize. You might need to think about doing that a different way. Yeah,
that's good. That's good to know. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Shumon, there's always the thing. Now, I'm gonna tell you, I was not the type of guy that wanted to date women that had kids.
Okay.
I'm being honest with you, right?
Okay. And that's true for many people. Yeah.
That was not my thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of it was I didn't want the kid to see me if he wasn't going to see me all the time.
I see that. I can understand that.
I just didn't want that for myself,
mm-hmm.
right? Because I didn't grow up like that. I didn't see that in and out kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta ask, what are some of the challenges there with you as a mom? Because again, you have the kid. It's not like over here sometimes, over here something. And you got 3. You can't just drop off 1. You got 3.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of those challenges? Because there's some moms out there right now that may be dealing with that. I'm gonna let you do it. Go ahead.
You meaning kind of that dating when you have children? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Exactly.
Well, it's not for everybody, right? It's not. Just like you said, you didn't want to date a woman with children. And there are definitely some men and some women who have those same, thoughts. And I think a lot of that has to do with some of that parenting style, because, some kids are just really out of control, and mama doesn't have that kind of that control of managing, how they act and do different things. My husband, and it was funny because when we first met, he didn't know I had children, right? Because we were out. I met him at a neighbor's house, right?
Okay.
And then he was a contractor. He was doing some work and things, and he found out that I had children through doing some work at my home.
Right.
And he was like, I was interested in that. Then I saw she had 3 kids, and it was like, I don't know. But then he was like, what really kind of sold me was the relationship you had with your children. He said they were respectful. They did what you asked them to do. There was not a lot of, there was no back talk. No, we don't do back talk. He said, they were just really good boys. And, that really encouraged me to kind of want to know more about, help me want to learn more about you and the way that you parent them, and the respect that they have, that they have for you. And so that was, and there are some women who run into, men is like, you have children, oh, I'm not interested. Okay, right. If that's not for you, it's not for you. But if somebody tells you that up front, don't try to make them change their mind. Now then you end up in situations and relationships you probably shouldn't be in the first place, trying to change their mind.
Right. Yeah. Now, Shumon, let me ask you this: Had you ever decided, I'm gonna raise these kids, and once they're all gone, then I'll get me a husband?
No.
Okay, so for that mom out there that's saying, you know what, I just don't want just anybody, which is legit.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want just anybody around my kids. How would you tell her to go about getting back into the dating world? Is there a right way, or is there a way that you would suggest?
I mean, I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. I think that, before anything, you have to be comfortable with yourself. Date yourself first. Get back to knowing what you like, what you enjoy, who you are as a person. Because before you were a mom, you were a woman. Get back to that, right? Get back to being just a woman who knows what she wants and what works for her. And then when you look at, then as a mom, you don't want any and everybody, Even as a dad, you don't want any and everybody around your children, and you want to make sure that this person is someone like as you mentioned, that's gonna kind of be around. The only reason he really met them that early is because he was doing work at my house.
Right.
And it really wasn't. We weren't even attempting or trying to even date one another by any means. He was a contractor.
Right.
And that was it.
Right.
But after he finished working on the home, he asked me out, and we've been together ever since. And at that point, he had already met my children, right? Because he was doing work in the home, and they were there.
Right.
But in other situations, and even prior to him, I did not. They didn't meet my children. They knew I had children,
right?
But they didn't meet my children because I didn't, unless I felt that I don't even know if there's anybody who ever met them outside of him.
That's a big deal, Shumon.
Yeah, because it was, just like when girls, they say you don't want to just bring anyone around your girls because they are, they're what's the word I'm looking for? You don't want to bring, just any type of man around your daughter or anything like that.
Definitely not.
But it's the same with boys. I don't know. Yeah. I don't understand why we should just say children in general, not just girls. But you don't want to bring just anybody around your kids either, your son either, because their habits and things that they do can rub off on them. Right, and it's the same thing with with the young girl. Young boys, unfortunately, are violated just like young girls can be violated. You want to protect them at all costs, and it shouldn't be any different whether it's a girl or whether it's a boy. You have a responsibility to protect your child.
Right, absolutely. And you talk about Jesse Hudson, who is now your husband.
Yes.
And just to be clear, I do have 2 bonus children, 2 daughters.
Okay.
Yeah, that I got. Anaya was 2 years old.
Okay.
And Janaya was 6.
Okay, 2 and 6.
Janaya was 6. I have 1 biological son.
Okay.
And but the obligation changed. It really did change with once those 2 came in. And even now you just see that the expectation and the impact that I've had on their lives is far more than what I could have imagined, to be honest with you. Far more than I could have imagined. But the blending of the family, Shumon.
Yeah.
You got Sean, which is Jesse's biological son, at 13.
13.
Talk about that, because there's so much of this going on right now where people are on maybe their first or second divorce or something like that. And these are real life situations where you have a single mom or a single dad and you're bringing these 2 families together. So talk about some of those challenges and how you overcame them.
Well, I will say that when he first came, and I kept I made sure that he kept the lines of communication open with his mom. I would always, have you talk to your mom? You need to call your mom. Call and talk to your mom. Call and talk to your sisters. Make sure that you're doing that. Call and talk to them. It wasn't a place where I felt, and I told her, I'm not trying to replace your mom by any means. I'm an extension of someone else. I'm an extension of your family who loves you as well. So my role is not to replace her. My role is to be an extension, of that. And so with our relationship, Sean and I are very, very close. Not just because he has my grandbaby. But Sean and I are very close. We talk all the time. But even with that, when he first came, I think there was some alpha male going on with, Lazar and Jay Sean, because, they're pretty much the same age. And it was almost like, who is this dude that's coming to live with us? Where did he come from and why is he here? Kind of situation. However, that didn't last very, very long. Like, they are like the best of friends. Like, they literally talk almost every single day. And I think because they had someone else of the same age, right, that they could experience things with. So they've become very, very close. And even, to the point now, he calls me mom. He's been calling me mom for a number of years. And it wasn't a requirement of mine. Neither was it a request of mine. Whenever he decided he wanted to feel comfortable and he called me that was completely up to him. It was always Miss Shumon, and I was okay with that. because at the time, I'm not your mom. I'm not your biological mom.
Right.
I am a mom. But so once he got comfortable with that, but the blended family, for us, surprisingly smooth and surprisingly well. My husband has a great relationship with them as well. They know they can, come to him for anything. He is how would I describe it? They go to him when they already know mama gonna say no.
Yeah, that's how it goes, right? That seems like how it goes, right?
Yeah, and he'll tell me, but the boys asked me about such and such. What? And
right.
He said, because they knew you were gonna say no. That's why I got okay.
Right. And Shumon, you when we first talked, I asked you how has the book been received right now? Bestseller. Did you ever think the book would do that well?
I wasn't sure, honestly, because of what we talked about. People thinking it was a mom bashing book, which it's not. People thinking it's a book that says you have to do it this way, and it's not. I think something the title may be off-putting for some people. You want to tell me how to raise my kids? No, I'm not trying to tell you how to raise your kids. What I am sharing with you is some of the challenges and trials that I had and what worked for me, in hopes that if you experience some of these things, they may work for you. It's another way to think of things, another way to do things. In addition to that, there is a workbook / journal that is coming out in about a month or so. That will accompany this book. And there are pages for each chapter that gives moms some time to do some inner work. Because a lot of times the things that we do and the way we raise our children is a result of things we haven't resolved internally. Or things that, we may be going through in that moment. So the book gives moms a chance to do some inner work. It also gives some activities, some resources they can do with their young king, some things that they can think about. Well, why is my child acting this way? What can I be teaching them at this stage in life? So it kind of goes through all of that. So it's definitely, I'm excited for that to be coming out pretty soon, and offering some workshops to some moms so we can kind of work through some of those activities.
And that leads me to my next question, Shumon, which is, what do you want? Not just because I can't just say moms, but this book is so well written that it just draws you in as a parent. It really does. And to a certain degree, if you haven't had a conversation with your mom and you're like me, 50 years old, it's a conversation that your mom would probably have said. It's like you're speaking for the moms. Maybe even some of them have passed away. This is a very deep piece you wrote. And it's short. It's a good read. I like it because in a day where most people don't want to sit down and read, it's short. I read the book in about 2.5 hours, maybe 3, because I just was allowing myself to be there, and I could feel you pulling the pen off the paper at times, not to go into a place where you would lose the reader into some of those things that you mentioned. This super mom, or I'm telling you what to do, and this is why you need it. It's just so well written. It's just a really, really good piece. I'm being honest with you.
Well, thank you.
It really is a good book. I would encourage men to get it as well, especially if you're going to start dating a single mom, or even if you're a son, maybe you have a mom that whatever. Just get the book. Just get the book. Just get the book. Just get the book. But because it really is, it touches on so many levels, at so many different facets of it transitions well. And I didn't want to. There's so much I wanted to cover, but I didn't want to give it away. I wanted to go with. I really did. But I do want to talk about this. I want to talk about chapter 9. Would you choose him as your husband?
Ooh, that people don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, pull that back for me.
So when there is a lot of conversation about There aren't any good men. There aren't any good men. The dating pool has pee in it. There's this, that, and the third, right? So I hear that a lot, and or I see it on social media a lot, and some of that comes from, you know, boys who have grown into men, sometimes without responsibility, without accountability, and without being taught certain skills to be a viable husband or a partner for someone. And if you take a moment and think about when you were, if you're in the dating world and you're looking at, you know, the qualities of the men or you know, that you're talking to or that you meet, or even mom, if you're married, and when you think about what qualities your husband currently has that sold you, would you look at your son and say, I choose you as my husband? If that answer is no, you got some work to do. Because if you're looking at your young king and he don't, you know, he don't know how to wash dishes, he don't know how to start the lawnmower, he don't know how to do his laundry, he don't know how to do any of these things. And if those were requirements for you as you were choosing your mate, and your son cannot do those things, you got some work to do. Would you choose him? And I said that to a mom one day, and she said, "Ooh, that was a gut punch." Yeah, it is. It is a gut punch. Now, you know, if I look at my kings, you know, one of them still got a little work to do. We working on them.
That's good stuff.
We working on them. You know what I'm saying? Right. You know, there are some I was like, you know, you got gold, but like I said, there's one he's still young. You know, he's 22.
Right. He still
there
got time.
There are certain things now. The basic things he can do. He can take care of yard. He can take care of house. He can cook you a full meal from scratch. He can do his own laundry. You know, that white baseboards, any of those types of things. He can change the tire. All those things. He knows how to do all those things. However, there are certain things for me, like the mental fortitude, when you talk about credit and finances, those types of things, he's still learning those things.
Okay.
And those things that I'm still imparting on him, those are things that are super important that a lot of times we miss out on. I couldn't really teach it to Lazar and Preston until I got a little older because it wasn't taught to me.
Right.
So once I learned, I had a responsibility to show and teach them.
Right.
So we still working on him. So moms, take inventory. And when that journal comes out, there really is a page in that journal that says, what can he do and what would you like him to be able to do? And it's a checklist. I mean, you write, and that is for you to write down. And if that side that has things that he doesn't know how to do and they're important, that's where you need to start going down that list and teaching him and showing him some of those things. Make it fun. Make it fun.
Make it fun. Make it fun.
Yeah.
This is great, Shumon. I'm gonna get you out of here in a few minutes. For those of you that have just joined, for those of you that have been watching, you already know I'm talking to Shumon Hudson. What I want you to do is definitely go to her website. So she's got merch over there, she's got books over there, and you can just get at her. Her email is there. IamShumon.com. IamShumon.com. It's in the bottom of the chat. My moderator will put it in the chat as well. But go over there. Make sure you continue to follow her. She's got a workbook coming out, and she's just going to continue to work with the ladies. And let me just say this. You may have heard Shumon say it already, and maybe you haven't. Shumon doesn't declare to be an expert at this, but she has made some progress, and the product is there, if I can use that word, only to say that her kids are grown. They've gone out into the world. They're testing this stuff. What she's imparted to them, just the fact that they're cleaning, doing these things, being respectful, respecting not just themselves, but other people around them, not being allowed to be influenced. And in this world right now, we need this. It has to happen. And the only way we can do it, we can't always rely on some vote to make it happen. Right. We have to take responsibility for our own kids and our own community. And what Shumon is saying is, hey, I'm here to help. What I'm saying is, here, I'm here to help. I'm going to bring you somebody here to this platform that's talking about it. She wrote about it. She talks about the lowest depths of her life as a mom with 3 kids, being a suicide survivor. This is real stuff. It's happening right here. I'm willing to talk about it. Now, Shumon, let me ask you this. Talk to me a little bit about, you mentioned the son and having him as a husband. Did you have to get over one of your children being the likeness of your husband? And what challenges is that? I didn't have it written down. I promise, Shumon, I didn't have it written down. But I want to come here. I got to go here because I think, and the reason why I think it gets in the way a lot, because I think but I think it gets in the way. So how do you get that out of the way, especially for that particular child or those children, if it was multiple ones that you? Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm going to say is there is a little portion in the workbook that kind of talks about that. So I'm kind of glad you brought that up. Talks about, what qualities in like your ex or their father, do you see in them? And do those characteristics or some of those things make you respond to him in a certain way because it reminds you of him, right? So I will say that one of my children, 2 of them have characteristics much like their father. But you can't blame them because they are a product of 2, right? So they're going to get some of those characteristics.
Right.
Now, I'm guilty. I have, and you know by now that I'm very honest and transparent. I have said, "Ooh, good grief, you acting like your father."
Yeah.
But in the same token, that's a part of who they are. That's a part of who made them. One thing we as parents, what we have to try not to do is place that blame. You can't, whatever happened in that relationship, it's not the child's fault. Regardless if they have those characteristics, do certain things that are like them. There was something about them that you chose them.
Correct.
To reproduce with,
Right.
So you can't be upset about that and not allowing that to get in the way and treat them, any different. To me, a lot of that is kind of growth and maturity and kind of being over that relationship. A lot of times when some of those feelings and things still linger on, it's easy to to harbor that and to say, and to treat them differently, and you don't do it intentionally,
Right.
because they remind you of certain things that they say or do, or a laugh or whatever that is, right? So
Right.
just kind of being over, I think truly being done with that person, truly being over that person kind of helps with that.
Okay. So it's a process.
It is a process. Now, it's definitely not overnight. Anybody that tells you it's overnight is not being truthful.
Right. So, Shumon, what do you, out of all things, what do you want people, and I'll say people, to get from this piece? Raising Kings, a mom's guide, raising boys to men.
I want people to get that, as moms, we have a responsibility. Fathers as well. And a lot of times, it's this book for single moms. No, it's not. It's for moms in general. Because whether you're a single mom or whether you're a married mom does not have any bearing on what you do and how you raise your children. Whether dad is there or not, you're going to parent the same way because that's what's ingrained in you. I want moms to know that you can do this. There are going to be some times you don't know the answer. Just hold strong because they do need you. They're going to need you to show up in different ways in every situation. Again, that could be a friend sometimes, that could be, a disciplinarian sometimes. Sometimes they just need your shoulder and they don't want an answer, they don't want a response. You have to understand how to show up for them. And each time that may look different, and that's okay. And even if times when you don't know how to show up, sometimes, just your physical presence and them knowing that, you're there for them is enough. So just be present. Create an environment where they want to be present or be in your presence. Because sometimes we allow anger or life situations to put us in a place where we are not available.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by available, not necessarily your physical availability, your mental and your spiritual availability.
Wow.
Be in that place where you can be available to them.
That's big stuff right there, Shumon. Being present, making sure you're present in that moment, making sure you're present. Mm-hmm. Hey, Shumon, that tells me that leads me to ask you this. You talk about being present, being in the moment. When you're not doing all these things, because you got a little bit more free time now. You got a little bit more free time, right?
Yes.
So I know you sing. I've seen it. Motivational speaker, entrepreneur, designer. I love the merch. I've seen it.
There's some more coming.
Okay. You're booked and busy. I know you are. I know you're booked and busy. That's why, again, I said thank you. I also want to know, we talk about mental health. What does Shumon do for Shumon?
Oh, Shumon likes to do a lot of different things. For me, mostly, I totally enjoy spending time with my husband. We enjoy one another's company. We enjoy bowling. We're very competitive when it comes to bowling. I didn't say I was that good. Now I just said
I'm about to say, what's your you over 200? Don't be telling me you the 120 and you competitive.
Yeah, but now we talk a lot of junk on the lanes just because it's fun. Okay. But I enjoy cooking. I enjoy cooking for my friends and family. Okay. When I have time, I think I cook fairly well, and I enjoy working in my yard. And so outside of those things, I do a lot of self-care. I'm gonna run me a bubble bath and a glass of wine. I'm gonna grab a book and sit out on the deck and read when the weather's nice. Like I said, now that I have that free time, I just enjoy being a friend and being a sister and being a daughter and just being who I am now, because I have not always been happy and content with the person that I am, and I'm grateful to be in this space at this place in my life.
This is good stuff. I mean, it takes. I always say writing does this. I think writing does this. There's something that I gain from every author, and then there's something that I expect also. Mm-hmm. And so, what you're saying, I kind of expected it, which is why I felt so comfortable having this conversation with you. Because I didn't know what to expect, meaning I didn't know what you would say, right. But I expected you to be open, because I believe that when you write, and there's so much with writing, was it therapeutic for you, Shumon, writing this particular piece? Did it take you back to different places that you had to overcome?
Yeah, it definitely did. It took me back to some places. And I will say, even in in the anthology, I would say more so in the anthology than in this particular piece, because there are things that I had blocked out of my mind as a safety mechanism. And as I was writing, I had to stop and deal with some emotions that I thought I had gotten through. And take a moment and put the pen down and then come back to it. And certain pieces or certain portions of it gave me a healing that I didn't realize that I needed. I thought that I had healed from. And sometimes, putting those words on paper, gave me some of the healing that I didn't realize I needed.
Yeah. That's what it'll do to you. I'm working on a new book, and I'll be honest with you. this piece has helped me a lot.
Nice.
And yeah, it's helped me a lot. I've been working on this piece for a while. We'll talk about it. But this has helped me a lot, and it's for men, it's for boys.
Okay.
But it's helped me a lot. I don't like to read other people's work, but I had a conversation with a movie director, and he said, "Daryl, why don't you?" He said, "What's the problem? I mean, you're not going to steal everything they had, but it gives you just a new perspective,
right,
of what's needed to be written and a new way of putting it out there."
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that. But the one thing you've helped me with is because you straight to the damn point, Shumon. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'll be mansplaining stuff, and you like 100. I mean, listen, you shredded this book, 105 pages, straight to the point. I mean, I'm being honest.
Well, listen, my friends will tell you, and I've seen a few of them comment tonight. My friends will tell you, if you don't want the truth, do not ask her.
Ask her.
It's coming out. It's
like,
coming
wait
out.
A minute. She just banging them. I'm like, what, man? So anyway, I'm like trying to get this book cut down. I'm like, man, I said, okay, let me just. So I'm glad I read it just for that alone. Well, Shumon, we talked about so many challenges. We talked about it. More importantly, we talked about overcoming those challenges.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think has been your biggest challenge throughout your life, and how did you overcome that? What has been your biggest challenge, and how did you overcome that?
That's a good question. I would say my biggest challenge was rebuilding my self-esteem after divorce. To me, marriage is a big deal. It's very important. It is a covenant between you, your spouse, and God. And when my marriage did not work, I felt like a failure. That's how important, that covenant is for me. And so, and some of the things I went through during that marriage also tested my self-esteem. So it was really getting back to who I was and knowing who I was inside and as a person, and what makes me happy and what makes me tick. I think by overcoming that, it's made me not just a better person, but a better mom. And, knowing what I will and what I will not accept and deal with. And that, played a big role in, my now marriage, to my husband, Jesse, because he was everything that I needed in that time in my life, and even now. So, but it helps me understand, what I will and won't deal with, and what I will and won't accept, and what makes me happy. And it's okay to still, before I was a wife and before I was a mother, I was Shumon. And just to be Shumon, and then everything else will come and fall in place.
Yeah, that's a big deal, Shumon. I appreciate that. I'm gonna get you out of here. I promise I will. Anybody that watches my show, they know that I got about 3 times to say that before it actually happens. I do. And it's probably because of you, because you keep talking. So wait a minute. You keep coming back. No, Shumon, don't listen to me. My grandmother died last year.
Sorry.
She died last year. Yeah, I'm here in Charlotte. Let me set it up. I'm here in Charlotte. My grandmother was 96 when she passed away.
Blessing.
Right. Oh yeah. I was married with my son's mom. That was that. Got divorced, got my son, and then my daughter, the 2 daughters I told you about, we were together for a while. We're not together now. But anyway, my grandmother used to always say, whenever I used to go home to Connecticut, "You found you a good woman yet?" I said, "Nana, come on, Nana." I said, "Nana, listen." And it would be my grandmother, not my mom. And she called me on the phone. "Who that in the background? You found you a good woman yet?" I said, "Nana, ain't nobody. It's the TV." Now my mom says, Your grandmother, you know what she would say.
Mm-hmm.
So it leads me to ask you the question.
Mm-hmm.
You got these kings.
Mm-hmm.
You've invested so much.
Uh-oh.
What is it gonna look like for them to find? Because my reply to my grandmother was, Nana, it ain't the same. It ain't what you think, Nana. It ain't that many like you out there and this one and that one. It's not like that no more.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I used to tell her. She probably didn't want to hear that. She thought it was me. I don't know. I don't know. But I have to ask you that. Have you anticipated that at all? I know one or two of your sons in a relationship. Have you anticipated that moment, how you'll react to that, you think, for your son finding that right one?
I want them to. I desire that for them. I want them to experience that type of love, that type of companionship, that type of support and motivation and encouragement. It's different coming from your significant other versus from your mom. That's a different type of love. And for moms who have a challenge with that, they're not trying to replace your mama, but it's a different type of love that you can't give them. You know, you give them a certain level of love, and that significant other gives them the other piece. I do have, I'm one of those, and I give it to them from both perspectives. And if they ask me, I'm gonna tell them, I'm gonna give you from the mom, the woman's perspective, because I was a woman first, and then I'm gonna give it to you from the mom's perspective. You know, there have been some that they've dated, and she ain't it. She ain't it. She's a great person. She is not the right person for you. You know, but one of my sons currently, is in a relationship. I absolutely adore her. I adore her. And I've shared with him, if at any moment you decide that you choose, you think she's the one, I would not be disappointed. Like, I truly adore her and see her as a daughter. And I want that for each and every one of them. I want them to experience the love that I experience and that they see modeled between me and my husband and their dad. I want them to experience that and see that for themselves. I'm not that, ain't nobody good enough for my son. That's not true. Right. I don't have that mentality. And I would hope many moms don't have that mentality. You want your son to have that experience, a positive experience.
Yeah. That's good stuff. I'm gonna do some rapid fire with you real quick, Shumon. Okay. I wasn't gonna do it, but I am gonna do it.
Let's go. I'm ready.
You be doing me like this. You be getting me off. You got me going on. So listen, I'm gonna say a name. You say what comes to your mind.
Oh my goodness, really? Okay, come on. Let's see. Here we go.
You talk about you can go as long as you want. You can give me a description of them. You can do what you want. Now this first name, I missed it. I had it on my notes, but I missed it. Somehow you got past me. I'm gonna say a name. You talk to me about it. Tiffany.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I know what happened. Tiffany is my best friend. We have been friends since the first grade. So that's, what's that? 40 years or so. Yeah. My children are her godchildren. Her children are my godchildren. We've been through the ups and downs and ins and out of life. She's definitely my best friend. One of my best friends.
Wow. Shamar.
My baby boy, my namesake, my aggravation, but my creative child, my fashion child. Yeah.
Preston.
Oh, my brainiac, my student athlete, my favorite quarterback, my introvert to some but extrovert to others. We have a different type of relationship, because he does things differently and in his own way. I don't always like it, but he don't care either.
Right. That's good stuff. Lazar.
Oh, my oldest child, my oldest biological child, the one who saved my life, saved me from me. The most like his mama. Personality bigger than this world. Kind-hearted, a lover, a giver. Yeah. Hustler, grinder. I saw on the bottom you said that, Jay Sean had music out. Lazar does too. So we musical over here too. So yeah.
Wow. And that leads me to that young man, the musician. One of the many in the family, I should say.
One of the many in the family, because Shumon, they all sing. So
wow. Jay Sean.
I'm gonna say bonus child just for the fact that that's what he is, but he's truly my son. I don't see him as a bonus child. For those who don't know us, have no idea, he's not my biological child. That's just the nature of our relationship. He's headstrong. He's a hard worker. He is an amazing dad. No one could ever take that away from him. I mean, he is absolutely amazing dad. He is kind-hearted. He's a lover. And I'm going to say about all of them, they all mama's boys. And I don't want people to look at that as a negative connotation. It can be negative, but in this situation, it's not.
That's what I'm saying. I was trying to get out of here. Now you bringing up mama.
What? Go ahead. What you got?
I'm trying to get. No, I got two more.
Okay.
Two more. James Spears.
Which one? Junior. My brother, my partner. Be like Bonnie and Clyde. You can't mess with him and not mess with me, and vice versa. One of my favorite people to sing with. His opinion and his thoughts mean the world to me.
Wow, that's big stuff right there.
I'm gonna tell you this. I had my engagement party, and my brother told me he wasn't gonna be able to make it, and this was 14 years ago. And I was disappointed he wasn't gonna make it. And he walked in, surprised me. I lost it, messed up all my makeup, and cried.
Right.
Because his presence means that much to me. His opinion means that much to me. That's the closeness of our relationship.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And my guy here, Jesse.
I call him the keeper of my heart. That's my nickname for him. He's my everything. He allows me to be. He allows me to be who God has created me to be. If it's something that I want to do, he's going to support me all the way. He's my best friend. He's the lover of my life, And he allows me to be in my soft girl era, as people say these days.
Right. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. Like I said, Shumon, it's not me, it's you. I'm putting it on you. I got two more questions.
Okay. All right.
Two more. I'm literally writing them down. This is one right here. I'm checking it right now.
Okay.
Because you just brought it up.
What is that?
And it's actually a chapter in my book.
Okay.
And it's called Mama's Boy.
Okay.
So some may say, Shumon, all you did was raise some mama's boys.
Okay.
What does that look like, and what's the back? Like, why is it that negative connotation? Because I don't think it is. Me personally, I've never really been called that. But if I was called that, I would be okay with it. I love my mom. Make no mistake about it. I love my mom.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom knows that I make my own decisions based off of whatever that is.
That's the difference right there. Yeah. That's the difference right there. I don't think the mama's boy connotation, I don't think men see it negatively. women who are in the dating world see it negatively. And I think a lot of that comes from the man and the mom not having boundaries and overstepping their place in that young man's life. That young man has to be able to have boundaries with their mom. You know, at this stage, you a man, you a boy. You really don't have to do anything she says do, right? But mom has to know when to step back and say, this is not my place. And I think that's where that negative connotation of a mama's boy come in, being overbearing and in the middle of all his business and trying to control his life. At a certain age, mama, that's not your place anymore. You know, he's a grown man. You have to allow him that. But that young man has to also be confident to say, okay, mama, you kind of going a little too far. I love you. And I'm I'll never disrespect you, but you crossing the line.
Right. So basically what you're saying, you would be okay with that.
Oh yeah.
Even if you did, just for say you know what, maybe I did go across the line, but you would be okay with your son saying, you know what, Mom, because I know they have so much respect for you. I can tell in their writing. It would put them in an awkward situation, awkward position, but it's good that you have the awareness that, you know what, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I don't think it would put because of the openness of our relationship. I don't think they would feel any type of way telling me that.
Okay, good.
I don't think so. I would hope not. But I don't position myself to be that mom. Right.
Right. You ain't putting yourself in that place.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Here we go, Shumon.
Okay. Look, before you say that, and a lot of that. This is my last little comment on that. Uh-huh. For some moms look at their son as their man or the man of the house, and for some that's what keeps that chokehold. He's not your man, mama. He's your son.
No.
You gotta let him go.
You gotta let him go. And it's in the book. You want to hear more about Shumon's take on that? That's not your man. I promise you, it's in there. I read it.
It is.
There's a healthy chapter of that in there. Believe me when I tell you. And so much more. Shumon, today, as you sit here,
okay,
having gone through all of what you went through, what would you tell your younger self?
Ooh. What would I tell my younger self? Don't be afraid to go out and get it. Just that simple. I was fearful for many years of going out and doing the things that I enjoy. Now I live my life out loud and in full color. And I really don't care what anybody else has to think about it.
That's what I love. I love that right there. I'm glad I ain't alone. And see, that's why I say my mama know I couldn't be no mama's boy. I've been living like that all my life. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, go out and get it. Don't be afraid. I think if I had taken that advice, years earlier, I would be further along in this journey. But I don't believe anything happens by chance. And so it's happening the way it's supposed to happen right now.
Right. I agree with that. And I'm enjoying it. I'm so glad that I'm here at this time and you're here, and the way that whole thing came together, I just love it. Shumon, when we do these conversations, when we do these sit downs, and you do them all the time, I'm hosting tonight, but sometimes I'm not hosting. Sometimes people are asking me the questions. So there may be something that I did not ask you or you did not say that you just want to say. I want to give you that time right now to say that, to be able to get that off your chest and make sure you have that moment where there's maybe something that you want to say.
I think I've said a lot tonight, but I will encourage anyone, if there's anything that you're wanting to do, go out and get it. Go out and try it. There's nothing worse than a failure than not trying. right? And you don't want to go and say, I woulda, I shoulda, I coulda, done these things. I am convinced that this book will fall into the right hands, into the right people, and that it will create an avenue and space where I can continue to encourage moms and women to be, great and positive in whatever it is that they're doing. And I know that time is coming. I can't worry about when. I just have to know that it is coming at some point. I'm excited about it, and I talk to people about it all the time. I don't know what it is. People tend to sit down and want to tell me all their business, and I don't know them from a can of paint. But I listen, and if they're asking for feedback, I will share that feedback. But I'm grateful that God uses me as that vessel, uses me to bring that positive energy where people feel like they can share those things with me. Because sometimes just getting it off your chest gives you just a little bit more energy to keep going and keep pushing. Sometimes you need to get it off your chest. So y'all just keep pushing, just keep growing, keep doing the things that make you happy. You only have one life to live. Live it out loud, live it in color, and don't worry about what anybody else has to think, because you don't owe anybody anything but yourself and the one you serve.
Shumon, what's coming up? We know you got the workbook you're working on. What's coming up, and where can people get in touch with you?
Sure. So outside of the workbook that's coming up, it is called the Raising Kings Journal. It is, again, tips, resources and tools, allows mom to do some of the inner work and some things that they can do with their son. So that's coming up first. Just recently, you all missed the Raising Kings Mother and Son Sneaker Ball, which was a great time. And it was a time for moms and sons just to have some one-on-one time with one another. It was good food, good dancing, good music. We had a great time with that. And in addition to, so coming up December 7th of this year, there will be what we call, my brother and I, who is also a vocalist, we do what we call Urban Christmas Carols. It is a live band show with live band. It's a mix of R&B, old school classics, and Christmas carols. I promise you don't want to miss it. It sells out every year. We have an amazing time. And so put that on your calendar. There will be more to come for that. So yeah. Oh, and check out Spotify, iTunes title for my song, The Difference by Shumon. It was released in September of 2022.
Yeah, y'all have no idea. But I tell you, we're gonna bring you a special guest. You didn't realize she was gonna be this special, did you? You didn't realize. Best-selling author. You know what you remind me of? Those preachers that used to come up there and they would say, if I can't shout you, I'm gonna sing you in there. Multi-talented. If you don't like the book, go December 7th. She's gonna sing you right in there. So there you go. Where can they reach you, Shumon?
You can reach me on my website at I Am Shumon. You can see it on the front of my shirt, how to spell Shumon. I think I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, IamShumon.com. And you can reach me there. I am available on social media. For Instagram, it's I_am_Shumon. The same thing on TikTok. And for Facebook, it's I Am Shumon. You can access all of my emails, phone numbers, and all that information there. So definitely get in contact with me. I'm available for, women's empowerment events, more podcast events, parenting workshops, all those kind of good things. I just want to connect with the people and be able to share with you the challenges that I had, in hopes that some of these challenges will help create a better space for you and your young king.
Wow. Shumon, I so appreciate you. You really poured out your soul tonight. And not only live, but this is recorded. It's going to continue to play and be out there in that space for so many that need to listen. We don't even know what we've really done here tonight. But I believe we've done something great by way of you, through you. And you've allowed yourself to be used. And I so appreciate that. So appreciate that. So you all have it.
I have thoroughly enjoyed myself tonight. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Shumon. I thank you. Motivational speaker, author. I'm gonna stop right there. Y'all play it back. What we gonna say? You're just everything. You're everything, Shumon.
I'm a creator.
You're a creator.
Yeah.
And you've created so much. And you blew me away with so much tonight. And it just goes into the lives that we live And let me just say this. I went through your Facebook today.
Okay.
Last Thursday, I had a scare. I had an allergic reaction to some food. I'll be honest, I almost lost my life last Thursday. I did. I had an allergic reaction to some food. It triggered my asthma, and it left me in a place. And the only thing I could think about, Shumon, was my kids. And what I thought was the last moments of my life.
My God.
And today, as I prepared for this, as I drove and I parked my car, and I realized how grateful I was that last Thursday I did not pass away, and that I would be here to have this conversation with you tonight. And it means so much to me. You poured out so much, not just for me, but I do this. I tell my kids, I do this for you, so you can see the other side of the world, that people go through things, but they get over them.
They get over them.
We sing the song, we fall down, but we get up. But what does the getting up look like?
Right.
This is what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. Can't stay down forever.
Can't stay down forever. So I just want you to know that I appreciate you. I'll definitely be at this. Lord willing, I'll be there December 7th. Hopefully I'll see you and Jesse before then.
Absolutely.
As something going on around town. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Now I know, we'll bump into each other, something going on around town. But again, I thank you, Shumon. I thank you.
Thank you again for the opportunity to be vulnerable, the opportunity to be transparent, and to share with other your viewers, listeners. Thank you. It's definitely appreciated.
All right. Until next time, next week, actually the 21st, May 21st, look for it. We got Easy Taylor. Last week we had Daniel Boer, author. She talked about CJ's mind, mental health. Go back and watch that one and hit the subscribe button. Make sure you continue to follow. Hit the notification bell so you can get alerts when I bring you more special guests like this amazing woman right here, Shumon Hudson. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.